Dark Discoveries is a podcast that dives deep into the darkest corners of history, mystery, and the downright bizarre. We discuss real events that may include graphic detail, adult themes, strong language, not suitable for all ages. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
We're here to inform, entertain, and maybe make you laugh nervously in public, but never to glorify criminals or make light of victims. Our research is thorough, but hey, we're not perfect.
We don't claim to be historians, so if we get something slightly off, blame Dustin. All opinions are our own, and sometimes even those are questionable.
Welcome back to Dark Discoveries. I'm your host, Dustin, and I am with
Jimbo.
Jackie.
Today we're going to talk about a specific piece of unsettling history. Today we're going to talk about a film. Yes, I know this isn't the tragedy of cinema, but this isn't just your normal movie release.
Oh, well, it's not found on those sites we can't look up.
It's out there. You can find this probably on YouTube. I think I downloaded it on some website that gave me a virus and now my computer don't work. Because it's one of those, it's you got to dig deep for.
Sketchy, huh?
This is a movie that was basically a propaganda film. Murder in one of the most horrific, not really forgotten maritime disasters of World War II, but we're diving into the 1943 production of the 1943 Nazi production of Titanic. Now, you know the Titanic story, right? We're all pretty familiar with that. Do I need to do its own solo episode?
About the Titanic?
Yeah, I probably will anyways.
Probably.
The unsinkable ship, the iceberg, the devastating losses. It's a tragedy that is cemented in our global memory. But here's where things get truly dark. Imagine that very story, that the universal symbol of human, we're going to just go with greed and nature's power, twisted and weaponized by one of history's most notorious architects of lies, Joseph Goebbels, however you want to say it. I'm going to say it wrong every time. So probably going to say it different every time I say it.
You just say Joseph G.
Joe G. Joseph. Joseph Goebbels was the Nazi minister of propaganda. He was a master manipulator. He understood the profound power of film, its ability to bypass rational thought and strike directly at emotions. And he saw the Titanic disaster as a golden opportunity, not just to entertain, but to indoctrinate. His objective was clear: use the Titanic as a vehicle to vilify his enemies, particularly the British. The film would paint them as a greedy capitalist, incompetent leaders, and arrogant fools whose hubris directly led to the catastrophic sinking, and naturally nestled them amongst the villains. There he'd be noble, courageous German officers whose warning would, of course, be tragically ignored. It would they would just come up with, this as a piece of propaganda to stir up animosity and contempt. So, the hero of his story, like I guess we were saying, is going to be a German officer that's, there's an iceberg up here, you should probably turn away.
Turn right.
But, yeah. But the greed of the British, they would just double down with speed, try to break the record because they were greedy. They'd make money by getting there quicker, and they disregarded that warning and went full bore instead. And for this, the Germans spared no expenses. Think about it. It's 1942. Germany was embroiled in a brutal war. Cities are being pounded by Allied bombs. Resources are stretched thin. But yet, Goebbels poured immense funds into this movie. 9 incredibly detailed, luxurious interior sets were built in Berlin's massive UFA studios, replicating the real Titanic's grandeur. A huge model of the ship was constructed, so large it needed to be a custom-built spillway just to be launched into the lake for certain exterior shots. This wasn't no B movie. You know, I know you like your B movies, and is this really a movie? Those budgets don't come close. This was a blockbuster intended to be a powerful instrument within the Nazi regime. So they're thinking if we do this, we can boost morale of our people, that we aren't the victims here. We're not the ones that are the evil ones. It's the British. It's just, let that set in, all the stuff that's going in. And people in Germany probably are figuring it out by 1942. So in 43, when this movie comes out, they already know. But you're also trying to somehow convince the rest of the world too. You're looking at me, Jimbo, like you're lost. Are you enthralled with this, or am I losing you?
I'm fine. I'm just listening. I'm surprised you haven't messed up a lot. That's why I'm just dumbfounded.
He's over here got his pitch counter, clicking it each time I mess up. That's what he's doing. But for the truly grand and sweeping exterior shots, the ship would cut through the water, the dramatic scenes of the lifeboats being lowered. Goebbels needed something real, something massive. So he secured the SS Capricorn. I believe that's how you say it. This stunning vessel in her day was a former luxury liner that once carried the wealthy across the Atlantic. By 1942, she was no longer an active passenger ship, but still a formidable ship. She was docked in the... I'm not even going to say it because it was docked in German-occupied Poland because I'm
Say it, Dustin. Say it.
Gotenhafen, Gotenhafen. So if you can speak German and you can record yourself at how stupid I sound, send us a voice message. I'm pretty sure you can, record your text, email it to darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. You guys aren't emailing me as much as I thought you would, making fun of us. Have a little bit of fun. Now it's
Dustin is, not us.
I'm the one that answers most of it, so it's okay. But like I said, no longer a luxury liner. This is going to be the majestic star of this Nazi film. Overseeing this whole ambitious, costly production was director Herbert Speln, Spelpin, if I can spell and read. He was a respected German filmmaker, initially enthusiastic about the project. But as filming dragged on, the cracks began to show. The sheer scale of the production created constant logistical headaches. The weather in the Baltic was uncooperative. The massive Titanic model proved to be temperamental. And then there were the so-called military advisors. German Navy officers supposedly there to provide their technical expertise. Selpin, by all accounts, found them insufferable. He was reportedly disgusted with their unprofessionalism, claiming they were more interested in romancing the actresses than doing their actual jobs. The frustration and endless delays, the sheer pressure of wartime productions begin to wear him down. In the moment of pure, unadulterated frustration, Selpin finally snapped. During a crisis meeting, he unleashed a furious tirade criticizing the German military. In general, inefficiencies of the war effort, even questioning the competence of those in power. Those words uttered in a moment of extreme distress were a death sentence.
I think that was tirade, not try.
Yeah, I had to just roll with it.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you think Hitler had any influence over this movie? Do you think that he put his 2 cents in, or do you think it was more of his army generals and everybody?
I think if one thing that Goebbels was, he was a master manipulator. He was really big into propaganda. I think this was probably more of his brainchild. And I'm sure there was probably some other people that were looking, what can we do to pull at the heartstrings of, I'm going to say not just Germany, but the world. What can we do to pull them on our side? And you got to remember, this is 42, 43 when they're filming this. You're only 30 years out of the Titanic sinking. Now we're 110, 12 years out of it. We still talk about it. It still has a grasp culturally on people all over the world. I got a nephew that's probably 9 or 10 years old that's into it. When I was about 8, 9, 10 years old, before the movie came out, it drew you in. There was just something about when you learned about this ship was unsinkable, it drew you in. It was interesting. The tragedy, just how could something that certain end in that much devastation? It was a cultural phenomenon. Even to this day, it definitely has staying power. So that's still I'm going to say probably a pretty fresh wound for the time. We think about how things go with, we're coming up on 24 years of 9/11. We still talk about it. It's not as much in the DNA of our country like it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years into it. But I think it's one of those things that will probably, for us, kind of just stay in our psyche. So I think that was kind of the same thing. So now that Jimbo decided to interrupt me, now I got to find my spot again.
You always be prepared, Dustin. Always be prepared.
Those words uttered, and like I said, we talked about him, having that moment of extreme distress. Like I said, that death sentence, in all of the most chilling betrayal ways of this story. Selpin's own co-writer and friend, Walter Zerlett Ofenius, Olfenius, reported his outburst directly to the Gestapo. So somebody you call a friend, a coworker, you go off and say this, he signs your death warrant. Like I said, just definitely a different time. What followed was swift and brutal. Selpin was personally interrogated by Goebbels. Gerbils. He was given the chance to recant, to deny his statement, but he refused. He stood by his words, and within a mere 24 hours of his arrest, Herbert Selpin was found dead in a cell, hanged. While officially ruled a suicide, it is widely accepted that he was murdered on Gerbils' behalf, or his direct orders. It was a terrifying and chilling message sent to anybody within the German film industry, or indeed anybody in Germany, who dared to express or even flicker the slightest, little tidbit would make this your fate. The film eventually finished with another director, Werner Klingler with an L. Though he remained uncredited, it premiered in Nazi-occupied Paris in November of 1943. But in a twist of dark irony, Gerbils ultimately deemed it too dangerous to be shown to German audiences. He would correctly reason that the scenes of mass panic, people drowning, the great ship sinking would only demoralize the German population that was. by then increasingly enduring, devastating Allied bombing raids of their own cities. The very film designed to break the enemy's spirit was deemed too terrifying for its own people to watch. But the story of the Nazi Titanic gets even darker. It's tied indistinctly to the fate of the ship that served as its majestic backdrop, the SS Capricorn. As World War II spiraled towards a horrific conclusion in early 1945, the SS, not American, Capricorn, now rusted and worn, was pressed into a new and unimaginable grim service by the Nazis. As Allied forces closed in on all sides, the U.S. embarked on a final, desperate, and utterly depraved operation. The forced evacuation and extermination of concentration camp prisoners, thousands upon thousands of them, primarily Jews, prisoners from, I'm not familiar with this particular death camp, Neuengamme. I don't want to butcher it because, I mean, we can joke and have fun on some things, but when it gets kind of chilling, we don't want to, laugh at the people who suffered and died for no reason other than their religion. These people were forced marched to the Baltic Sea. Their captors' intent was chillingly clear: eliminate all witnesses to their monstrous crimes before the Allies arrived. The SS Capricorn, along with the other ships like the Theelbeck, the Anthem, became a floating hell. These vessels were crammed far beyond their capacity with emaciated, terrified human beings. The conditions were unspeakable: no food, no water, and full of rampant diseases. Many died before they even reached the ultimate and horrifying destination. Some historians even believe the Nazis intentionally packed these prisoners onto the ships, hoping Allied forces would sink them, thus doing the SS's dirty work for them. Then came May 3rd, 1945, days before Germany fell. The British Royal Air Force planes, operating on intelligence that these ships were German troops transports attempting to escape across the Baltic to Norway, launched a devastating attack on Ludwig Bay. The Capricorn, the ship that had once depicted the unsinkable Titanic, quickly caught fire and capsized. The Theelbeck, Thielbeck, suffered a similar fate. But the true horror wasn't just the sinking itself. It was the brutal, desperate aftermath. Of the estimated 4,000 prisoners on board the Capricorn, only about 400 survived, many of whom managed to escape the burning inferno by jumping in the icy waters while being shot at by SS guards on shore. And most come to the exposure of the cold water. The total death toll from the Capricorn and the other ships that day exceeded 7,000. To truly grasp the scale of that, it was a far, far greater loss than the Titanic's disaster itself. The SS Capricorn, a silent witness to the film born of hatred, became a watery mass grave for thousands. Its final tragic act, an unspeakable testament to the unimaginable depths of Nazi depravity. And here's one twist of dark irony in this story. Despite the horrific origins and the sinister intent, some of the Nazi film's technical achievements would outline its creators of this monstrous regime. Years later, in 1958, a critically acclaimed British film titled A Night to Remember, widely considered one of the most accurate cinematic portrayals of the actual Titanic disaster, actually incorporated footage from the 1943 production. Think about that. The very nation Goebbels sought to demonize, the target of all that cinematic hatred found use of the very footage created to vilify him. The Nazi Titanic stands as a chilling, unsettling artifact of history, a grand, extensive lie that consumed its directors, then became an unwitting accomplice to one of history's most forgotten genocides. Its story serves as a stark reminder, my friends, that behind every piece of propaganda, there's a complex, often brutal reality. And as we've seen today, the echoes of such darkness can ripple through history long after the projector light fades, long after the credits roll. So this is one I kind of stumbled across on the History Channel, which I'm going to highly recommend watching the documentary they did about this first. It's a really humbling and somber thing to watch, but it is one of those things that's kind of much watch TV for me. Like I said, it's history. It's not well known. And to see truly the levels that the Nazis would go to do whatever they wanted to do to push their narrative. It was, like I said, interesting. People start seeing this, and if I'm not mistaken, the sinking scene, it also had passengers in it, and then that was used in the Night to Remember movie because it was done so well. It was a very well shot scene for the time and special effects. But now knowing that was used is just horrific. Like, how can you, within your consciousness, use that knowing, or maybe they didn't know at the time, but I'm going to assume they did, that you're knowingly going to use that as part of your film. I get there's budgetary restraints and they didn't spare any expenses, but I just don't think that's the right way to remember those people. At least, that's my perspective on it. So definitely a dark thing. Looking at my two co-hosts, I don't really think that they were prepared for that. So, but it's, like I said, it's definitely one of those things you have to talk about to keep. So some of these people didn't die in vain. It's horrific. Like I said, we can't express that enough. But I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to just go ahead and end this episode at this. No, you're okay. You're up for it. I didn't think you were up for it. I'm looking at you guys in your face, and I didn't think you guys were up for it. So.
Oh, yeah, because you think yours is dark and twisted?
Well, I'm hoping you can bring the listeners up a little bit.
I'm going to take them further down.
Sorry, guys. Like I said, I know this is...
Dustin's may be the highlight of the episode for being the happiest.
Like I said,
it's all your fault, Dustin.
And I want to go far, too, and say, and I could be wrong, because I'm probably getting this confused with Triumph of Will, was another propaganda movie that I don't believe has ever been shown in Germany. I believe this did finally show in Germany at some point. I can't remember the exact dates. But it, like you said, it's crazy that they spent all this money and, not many people seen it. So the documentary you should be able to find. The movie, I feel like I had to download or it was on YouTube. So it's just, I don't know. Like I said, it kind of gives you a small glimpse into the mindset of these people. So I want to do a little bit more in the future on World War II history and different things, hopefully a little bit more uplifting. So if anybody has a story that you want to maybe have us look into, I know a lot of this doesn't get the best downloads, but it is something that I'm into a little bit. Don't hesitate to send that email to darkdiscoveriespod@gmail.com, and we'll definitely take it under suggestion. So now I've filibustered long enough, hoping that Jimbo was going to change his topic to something happy.
Nope. Dustin, this is going to be the first time since we've started this podcast that I am going to put a warning before my story. So if you are easily triggered, this story may not be for you. This is a tale of a kidnapping, manipulation, psychological torture, and survival. For 7 years, this lady was held captive by a man who crafted a world of fear so complete that she didn't even try to escape. This is the story of Colleen Stan, known by many as the girl in the box. Okay. So we're going to walk through her journey with respect and care, seeking to understand not just the facts, but the mindsets that made them possible. A content warning before we begin. As I said, this episode includes descriptions of abuse, captivity, sexual violence, and trauma.
So please think about where you're at listening to this.
Yes, if you have little kids with you or even teenagers, you might want to
Hit pause and
or fast forward
this.
and don't listen to this, or listen to it when you're driving by yourself. So here we go. You've been warned. So Colleen Stan was born in Riverside, California, where one of my best friends was born. She was born in 1957. By all accounts, she was a typical 20-year-old, independent, free-spirited, and in search of adventure. In May of 1977, I wasn't even born till October of that year, Colleen decided to hitchhike from her home in Eugene, Oregon to Northern California to attend a friend's birthday party. Dustin, Jackie, have either of you ever hitchhiked?
No.
No, but I like to pretend
Oh, wow. She
She
talks to herself in the car. Does that
a lot.
I'm too many bad movies and stories start out with a hitchhiker.
But hitchhiking was normal back then, right?
It was the way to go.
And she's hitchhiked before, and she had no reason to suspect that this trip was going to be any different for her. So Colleen turned down several rides that just felt, quote, off. So she's like, nah, I can't take one from you. Then a couple in a blue Dodge Colt, accompanied by a baby, pulled up. They seemed normal enough. They seemed safe. She got in. The couple was Cameron and Janice Hooker. She had no idea this would be the last free decision she would make for the next 7 years. So the Hookers initially chatted with Colleen like any friendly strangers do. But after stopping at a gas station, things changed. Cameron drove the car off the main road into a secluded, wooded area. He pointed a knife at Colleen, forcing her to submit. Then came the box, a custom-made, soundproof head box designed to muffle her screams and disorient her. She was blindfolded, gagged, and bound. Then she was taken to the Hooker's home in Red Bluff, California. What followed were 7 years of unimaginable horror. So a little bit about Colleen's life in captivity. She was held in a coffin-sized box under the Hooker's waterbed for up to 23 hours a day. She was starved, sexually assaulted, tortured, and isolated. And I read also that they sometimes... So basically, Dustin, would you like to tell the audience what kind of box, the box within the box she was in? Do you remember from the picture?
I know that she...
Would you like to describe this picture?
So you have the box in the box, and then you have the box. So you had
like 3 boxes. Almost.
So you've got the first box with another slightly
how
smaller
big would
box.
you say the big box is?
It's the size of a coffin.
Yeah.
It looks like a nesting doll almost with like coffins. It's very strange.
Yeah, she's not a very big lady, so it's not probably more than 3 feet by probably 4.5 or 5 feet that she's in, and then there's a box on her head. So that's the box within a box within a box.
And then there's also the box that the coffin-sized box is in, which is probably...
That makes it like a coffee table, right?
almost like a mattress-looking thing, right? So that's the point I was going to get to. So they would shove this lady... She was in this box, put the lid on, and they would shove her under their bed for 23 hours a day. And then sometimes they would pull it out and use it as a coffee table with her still in there when there was company over and everything, and nobody ever suspected a thing.
You think I'm going to remember all this because I try to, you tell me, and it's like, oh, that'd be a great topic to cover, and then try to forget about it until we cover it.
Right. So this Cameron guy made her sign a contract that required her to obey Cameron and ask permission for anything she wanted to do. Also had to basically refer to him as master or sir.
Yeah, because that's not going to keep you from getting in trouble in court.
Right.
Or be arrested or beaten when the cops get there.
So Cameron Hooker fashioned himself a sadistic master inspired by bondage fantasies and twisted ideology. He wanted a sex slave. He created a fictional organization called, quote, The Company, a shadowy syndicate he claimed monitored slaves and would kill Colleen and her family if she tried to escape. So the mind games are already going on this poor girl. So he used this lie to manipulate her into obedience, and it worked. Janice, Cameron's wife, played a complicated role. Though also a victim of his abuse, she participated in Colleen's captivity. Over time, Janice grew jealous and guilt-ridden. Colleen remarkably began to comply with the rules. She cooked, cleaned, and even helped care for their children. To the outside world, she seemed like a housekeeper, but each night she returned back to the box. So before we continue, let's all take a moment to breathe because it gets heavy. So stories like hers are hard to hear, but they are crucial to understanding how manipulation and fear can override even the strongest instincts. So I want to take this opportunity that if you or someone you know is experiencing abuse or needs support, please reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. Please get help. You don't deserve to be in that situation.
And by all means, when you're raising your children, let them know that
It's not okay.
There's certain things that aren't okay, you know, and a lot of these stories that we hear and talk about, it's people are groomed to think certain things and that's okay, that's acceptable, that's what happens. By all means, it's a tough conversation to have as they get a little bit older. You can't tell them everything when they're little, but by all means, like no time in your life is this ever acceptable. There's these warning signs. When you see that, run away, call somebody, tell somebody. Don't let something happen to open that door and lead yourself down a path.
And don't just become another statistic.
Exactly. You know, that breaks my heart to think that there's these families that could have hopefully talked about certain things and curbed this from happening. But
then again, the mind is a very intricate part of your body.
And when they see some type of any type of opening, I don't want to say, you know, from abuse or anything, but if they see any little chink in the armor, they're going to see it and exploit it.
Right. So by 1981, Colleen's situation began to shift. Cameron actually began to allow her outside the box more frequently. She made a phone call to her family under strict control and visited them once. Yet she returned. And I have a picture, and it tells the story. It's Cameron with her, and she is just leaning on his shoulder, smiling. He's smiling. So you never know what kind of facade somebody is putting on when they might be struggling. So just take that in consideration. But why did she return? Because she believed, quote, the company would kill her and her loved ones. The real turning point came from Janice. Her internal guilt finally outweighed her fear. In 1984, she confided in her pastor, who urged her to help Colleen escape. On August 9th, 1984, Janice drove Colleen to a bus station. Colleen returned to her family physically free for the first time in 7 years. So let's talk a little bit about the aftermath of this situation. Colleen did not go to the police immediately. Astonishingly, she stayed in contact with Janice, still under the psychological grip of Cameron's lies. Eventually, Janice confessed everything to the police. Cameron Hooker was arrested and charged with kidnapping, rape, and false imprisonment. In 1985, he was convicted and sentenced to 104 years in prison. Janice received immunity in exchange for her testimony. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's just like, I don't like it when we're like, oh, well, we'll let you have immunity if you just, give us your testimony against this person, because
You're only getting half of the horror.
Right. But then again, she was probably a victim of abuse too.
Oh, absolutely. I'm
so
sure.
she might have been under like a lot of psychological trauma too. So.
But sometimes also when people get together, they feed off of one another. It's a
Right.
mob mentality.
So Colleen's case remains a textbook example of coercive control and trauma bonding. Experts argue she didn't suffer from Stockholm Syndrome in the traditional sense. Instead, she experienced learned helplessness, a condition where a person believes they cannot escape no matter what. Cameron exploited psychological fear far more than physical force. The invention of, quote, the company created an invisible prison even more powerful than bars. So it was just something he put into her mind, and she's like, to protect her family, let's not forget about that. They said they were going to kill her and her family. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Colleen's life today. Today, Colleen Stan lives a quiet life. She has largely stayed out of the public eye, focusing on healing, family, and advocacy. She has spoken about her ordeal in a few interviews, emphasizing that survival is possible even in the darkest of circumstances. Her strength is nothing short of extraordinary. Colleen's story has educated law enforcement and psychologists on how captors use fear to enslave. It also reminds us of the resilience of the human spirits. In telling these stories, we honor survivors, we believe them, and we learn from them. So that is the story of Colleen Stan and the girl inside the box. And I will try to post these pictures of this box and the headpiece that she had to wear. I'm claustrophobic, and this headpiece alone is enough to make you, to me, just, yeah. I mean, if you look at it, it looks, I don't know, how would you describe it? Like almost like a pressure cooker on your head with
it's
muffled stuff, and then be put in a box and then put inside another box and shoved under a waterbed. I mean, think 23 hours days. What about food? The sanitary bathroom, if you had to go to the bathroom, I mean, the beatings.
It can't be great. Let me try to look at this picture real quick so you may hear some noise.
We'll get Dustin's insight on this. Dustin.
I'm looking at it, and I don't see the top, but if they're going to use
the top
this,
is you mean as far as like the coffee table?
Yeah. So they're going to put something in there. I don't really see no places for fresh air. So you're breathing a lot of air
Stagnant
that you've already full of carbon dioxide because you've exhaled it. That's going to be probably warm and uncomfortable, and like I said, you're in the dark. You've only got,
and don't forget,
maybe a foot on each side of your body to move left to right. And then just think, we're all getting older at this table. If we sleep too long and wake up, your back hurts. And you're in this laying down constantly. You can't sit up. You're going to roll over on your side.
Maybe.
It looks like she's going to.
It depends on how heavy that headpiece was.
If it's just wood, but it's just.
No, the bottom, the headpiece.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ridiculous that.
And you got to remember, where are they at? She was hiking from Oregon to California.
Yeah.
You know how hot it is out that way?
Yeah, it gets, like I said, if you're close to the water, it's not bad. But if you're on the other side of it, it's hot and humid like everywhere else. So it's and you think that there's nothing you can do. Because if you scream out when somebody's there, it's like they're I don't want to say getting off, but they're getting off on the fact of knowing that
it's control.
Nobody else knows you're in there, but somebody's here, and we have you out as a coffee table.
Well, just think, we probably got TVs going. We probably got, this is the 80s.
Yeah.
Probably got loud music going, or 70s to 80s, loud music going. You probably got kids running around. So,
but it's tough to fight because when they get out, though, that's when you get the chance. You have to get that bravery back.
Well, and
because
it takes
you've been
a
broke
really
down.
sick person to think, I'm going to put you in a box, and then I'm going to put a box on your head, and then I'm going to put a table out, and then we're going to sit here and enjoy it and pretend there's nothing. That is just a level of
control and
decrepency
manipulation.
I've never heard of.
And here's something I just thought about. So 23 hours in this box. Where'd they put her? Under her waterbed. What do married couples do in the bed?
Yeah.
And that is just terrible,
it's
too.
all just more and more manipulative and intentional.
To break your spirit. So
Absolutely.
when they do
this
get
is your new normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure the ultimate thrill for them was to have her out in public or to have her trained to where she doesn't run away. She's
The
scared. She's
ultimate
terrified
submission.
that you've complied. And it takes a lot of strength and courage to say, okay, I have my chance. I'm making a break because they've told you for how long that Your family's going to die. They're doing this to you. So if you breathe too loud, are you going to be dead? Are you going to survive? So you're just trying to figure out how to make it day by day to try to figure out how you're going to get out. And then sometimes you're not thinking that because you've been broke so far.
And here's the point that you probably missed as I was going through that. So Janice helped, get her free. Who did she go to? Her pastor. So these were church-going people that probably seemed normal.
Oh, yeah.
So that just adds a whole
even more creepy.
That just adds a whole nother level. And I just thought about that when you were talking, Dustin, because I got to give Janice a little bit of credit because she finally broke the psychological barrier enough to tell somebody, but it took 7 years.
Yeah.
So,
and at that
like
point,
I said,
is it
did you
because
do it
it's
because-
easier to hide? Is it because you feel actual guilt? Is it because you finally had that opportunity to get her out of there? I mean, what
Is it
really
that, or
was
are you
the reason?
feeling that something happened that you're next?
Right.
Yeah.
Is it out of fear? Is it out of courage? Is it out of, I need to do the right thing? I mean, you're never going to know because, when you go to the, authorities, you're going to sing like a canary to do whatever you can to make yourself look okay. But who's to say that their relationship wasn't similar or something happened or just so
maybe she was the girl in the box before they got the other one.
Absolutely.
But, I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts. I read a lot of true crime books, and this is one that just sticks with you when you hear it. It's probably one of the worst ones I've ever read about or listened to. It's really
Have you
bad.
dove into his life before this at all?
No, I didn't. I didn't really want to talk about the guy, Dustin. So I'd rather focus on the victim and the outcome of a positive thing than
bad part,
focus
yeah.
on
She made it out.
him. He's in prison for 104 years. I hope he's dead. I hope he had to bend over and pick up the soap a couple times. Okay.
Oh yeah, I always believe in when somebody's in prison for something like this, like let the inmates beat him within an inch of his life, and let him slowly recover,
And then
do it again and again and again until he's asking for you to kill me, and we don't give you the satisfaction
But
that you just keep doing it.
The other point I want to make is, yes, Colleen escaped, but for the rest of her life,
Oh, she's scarred.
She is
Every
gonna
time you
be-
close your eyes, it would be scary.
right. It'd be
I just didn't know
psychological
if this-
abuse. There is just going to be the rest of her life. I can't imagine the amount of hours of counseling, the love
Not
that
to
she
mention,
needed.
I mean, being in a box for 23 hours with things on your head, you've now affected your hearing, you've affected your senses, you've affected your breathing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she would undergo
long-term
all
effects
kinds
of,
of issues from that.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, the damage to her eyes coming out. It'd be like somebody that's been living in a cave.
And I hate to talk about the id that we lived through recently, but when you put that mask on your face, and a lot of people just use anything with cloth, there was issues popping up with respiratory problems because your people aren't washing and sanitizing, and they've got this in their face, and then they're breathing back in some of that air left over, and it caused some problems. And you're going to have that same type of problem. I just didn't know. This can't be the first thing he's done.
It could be.
It could be. But I mean, it's just, if
It's a pretty deep escalation for it to
start there.
start there. And how do you get somebody on board with that?
Yeah.
Well, it's like,
I just hope there's not more victims.
I'll cover it eventually, but there's also the guy that was known as like the toy box killer. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't know if I could ever do the toy box. I may not have to be here for that episode.
Right.
There's a
I
few-
mean, that might be the only one that I've heard that is worse than this one.
Yeah, I'm right there.
Really
with you.
bad.
It's terrible. I mean,
yeah.
it was psychological. It was physical. It was mental. It was,
So I may cover that one. I might wait till Jacque's not here if she doesn't want to be part of it, because
That
I
would be
don't want her.
fantastic, 'cause
I don't want
think
her
I
to be
could
a
do that
part of
one.
something that's.
Yeah,
I can tell this episode's not been her forte, if I can spell that out.
I've been awfully quiet on this one.
Right.
So I'm
yeah,
like,
which
But
is
now
rare.
she has been quiet. But guess what? We just wanted to highlight Colleen Stanton and say, we're proud of you for getting out of there. And you deserve everything in the world that you get.
There's a little bit of hope in a bad situation.
Right. So I'm going to kick it over to Jacque, who will hopefully lighten this episode up a little bit, maybe, or it could be worse.
Let me see what I can do. I had some stories, and then I got a little concerned about what to bring to the table on this one. So I decided I'm going to go with the only documented person that's ever been hit by a meteorite, because that's just funny. All right.
So within the last couple of weeks, we've talked about, surviving 7 lightning strikes.
Yeah.
The guy that
death like 7 times.
the guy that wouldn't die because he was an alcoholic. Remember they had to try to kill
that
him.
guy, yeah.
We're talking about legs found in barbecues. And now somebody was hit by a meteorite and survived.
Well, we did talk about legs and barbecues, but we had to delete that episode.
Oh my gosh, we're going to have to bring that back.
Right.
Oh no. That was such a funny one.
That was our cannibal episode.
Oh,
sorry. So we will record
recap
that.
Cannibal.
Yeah.
That was a great episode.
We have the audio still. It's not lost. We can at least try to have Jimbo pretend to be our sound engineer. He can go back in time and he can edit that into something else.
Well, I could just go in and do my talking and then until it marries up with the rest of you guys, but we'll miss the whole Dustin dances with Travis.
You're not missing out on much on that
good.
one. So.
Well, it is a fun episode, and we will either fix it or recover it because these stories are great. So tonight we are going to talk about Miss Ann Hodges, the meteorite incident. So
Was she a meteorologist?
she kind of became one after this.
What happens when you predict the weather wrong? Every other day, you get hit with a meteorite.
That's right. So her full name was Ann Elizabeth Fowler Hodges. She was born February 2nd, 1920. She died on September 10th of 1972, not because of the meteorite. All right. The location of this incident was Oak Grove, Alabama. The time was November 30th, 1954 at 12:46 p.m. The object was the Salukuga meteorite. I don't 100% know if that's right, but that is what Wikipedia told me to pronounce it, so that's what we went with. A grapefruit-sized meteorite fragment that was 3.86 kilograms or 8.5 pounds crashed through the roof of the Hodges' home. It ricocheted off of a large wooden console radio before striking her left hip while she napped on the couch. The impact left a severe bruise, but no broken bones. A bright fireball and loud sonic booms were reported across Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi.
Oh, no.
Right? So her attending physician was Dr. Moody Jacobs, who photographed all of her injuries. The Hodges fragment, so this is broken into a few pieces due to this. The Hodges fragment, 3.8 kilograms or 8.5 pounds, was the piece that struck Ann Hodges. McKinney fragment, 1.68 kilograms or 3.7 pounds, was the piece found the next day by the farmer Julius McKinney. Both fragments were classified as HD ordinary chondrite. Forgive me, meteorologists, by meteorological records. Local police seized the meteorite and transferred it to the U.S. National Air Force at Maxwell Air Force Base for study. The landlord, Bertie Guy, claimed ownership since it fell on her property. After a year-long legal dispute, the Hodges settled with Bertie Guy for only $500 to keep the meteorite. By the time they regained possession, the media interest had faded, and they were unable to sell it. The Hodges fragment was donated by Ann Hodges in 1956 to the Alabama Museum of Natural History in Tuscaloosa, where it still remains on display today. The McKinney fragment was sold by Julius McKinney to the Smithsonian National Museum of History via an Indianapolis lawyer. How they got in...
So the lady didn't get to keep her 8-point-something pound. She didn't get to keep it?
Anne kept hers, but there was a legal dispute because the one that hit her,
right.
The landlord said that fell on my property, took her to court over it, sued her. After a year-long battle, Anne was able to keep it, and she had to pay the landlord $500 to keep it. So her intention was to sell this thing to make some money and, become famous. Well, it took so long in court that they decided it wasn't worth it anymore. So she actually donated it to a museum in Alabama.
See, I wonder what they could sell it for.
And then I would sue the guy for, well, your house wasn't meteorite proof. I'm going to sue you for all my doctor's bills.
Act of God.
So the one thing in America is if you're the first person to sue them over something, you can probably win. Now, the second person who gets hit with a meteor on landlord's property, they're probably not going to win. But the first one will win. So
Well, if you remember, this was broken into two pieces. There was the Hodges fragment, which was the one that hit Anne, and the McKinney fragment, which was the one that was found by the farmer. Well, the McKinney fragment was sold by Julius McKinney to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History via the Indianapolis lawyer. McKinney was able to actually use his proceeds to purchase a car and a brand new house.
Yeah.
So poor Anne could have
She
made
still
some
missed out.
serious
Right.
money on this. She got hit by it, and she had to do like a year-long battle and made no money.
And I'm sure NASA or the government would want to buy it from you to do some research on
Oh,
it.
for sure. So the aftermath for Anne, the incident brought such sudden and international fame, including appearances on television programs such as I've Got a Secret. I've never heard of it. But the stress of the media attention and legal disputes reportedly harmed her physically and mentally. Anne and her husband, Eugene Hewitt Hodges, divorced in 1964, when Anne Hodges unfortunately passed away on September 10th of 1972 at the age of 52. The scientific significance of this incident. It is the only confirmed case in history of a meteorite striking and injuring a human being. The survival was likely due to the energy loss as the meteorite penetrated the roof and ricocheted off of the radio. Had it have not done that, it probably would have gone through
That
her.
makes sense because I'm like, if
Yes.
something, because you shoot a gun up in the air, that bullet can come down and kill somebody.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
There's still, velocity coming off after it goes back down. So I'm like, how are you going to get hit by a meteor unless it broke into a small piece? And even then, it's coming pretty fast.
It's still 8.5 pounds, Dustin.
And
Yes, I thought
think
it'd
of
be
the
like a
speed that it
pea.
came through there. I mean, it was just
That
immense.
8.5 pound is like a bowling ball.
Oh yeah, that's the weight of a bowling ball, probably the size of a
Right.
bowling ball.
I wonder. I'd have to. I wonder what the density, if it is bowling ball or if it's
A little condensed, yeah.
heavier material. But that's amazing. That
Oh, and thank
And
God
the-
it broke off.
I'm
because
surprised
could you
that-
imagine if another 2 pound? I mean, it probably would have broken bones had it have all stayed together.
and imagine how big of a hole in the roof it made.
Oh, I'm sure
the,
it was-
the roof's made. It hits.
It was heard in
bounced.
3 states. It had to have been terrifying.
I wonder if there was a fire involved too, because when something like we got a meteor shower going on yesterday, tonight, and tomorrow.
Yes. Mhm.
And that's what they are. They're burning up as they're coming into the atmosphere.
atmosphere, yeah.
So that's amazing that the house didn't catch on fire as well.
I'm surprised it didn't go through the floor and get stuck. But the poor lady.
You're asleep on the couch.
And this is the one she get hit by. So now
Yeah.
you're renting this house. Now you got to worry about the damage and them coming to fix it. You lost your radio. What else did it break? And then you
Yeah.
got to pay $500 because this damn thing tore your stuff up.
Yeah, you have to pay $500 just to keep it in hopes to make some profit off of it. And by that point, the media attention was all gone, so she donated it.
I would have kept it. I'd have hustled that thing till I got a new house and a new car and
My doctor bills paid.
Well,
maybe.
NASA and the meteorological records cite that this is one of the only few documented meteorite-related ballistic injuries. Others included Mabale, Uganda, in 1992.
I would have been like, look at this kidney stone I passed.
So that is the story of the woman, Anne Hodges, that survived the meteorite. And,
Pretty cool, pretty cool.
That's a fun one.
At least it was more uplifting than Dustin and my story.
I do try.
So there is a Buc-ee's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Mm-hmm. So if I have time coming back from my vacation, because we're detouring and we'll be around that part in Alabama, I may have to try to see if I can see this meteor.
take pictures.
Absolutely. That would be awesome.
I'm trying to figure out how big it is right now. Mm-hmm. But we probably don't have time for that. And it's not really round. The Hodges meteor, it looks like
Something you left in the
8.5
toilet earlier.
pounds, and it is 7 by 5 inches. And it's not round. It just looks like a broken piece of concrete. So
All right, Jackie, I believe you have our missing child for this episode.
I sure do. This one comes tonight from Fort Wayne, Indiana. This is Geneva Gary. The missing child case number is M668367212. Her current age is 16 years old. She's been missing since April 1st of 2025. Any information regarding her whereabouts, please call the Allen County Sheriff's Office at 1-260-449-3000. You can also report any information to the 1-800-MISSING the Lost, and we would be putting all of her information up on our social medias. Please, let's bring Geneva home.
And this has been Dark Discoveries, where the deeper you dive,
the darker it gets. If you're still listening, there was a restaurant that really drew my attention that was Titanic themed. There was the Titanic restaurant in Destin, Florida. Food that goes down easy. That was one of my lifelong missions, was to go to that restaurant, and it sadly closed. So if you can shed some light on that, or maybe start a GoFundMe to get it going again, let us know.
If somebody has a menu from that place, could you please send it to us, and we will let Dustin frame
Dustin's
it?
heart will
Yes, we will.
On and on.
We will get a P.O. box or something set up so that we don't get our real addresses. But we have told you that we're in a distillery, and you could probably figure the address out.
Oh, no. I'll send
No,
you
don't
Dustin's.
come find me,
We'll
please.
send Dustin's address.
Until next time.